All right, guys, welcome back to the Green Zone. This is episode 34. If you haven't been watching, where you been? You've been missing out, fool. We got a lot of games to get through, so let's just kick it off real quick. First, we're gonna go through our head-to-head pick'ems, follow that up with fantasy advice, and then finish up with our betting segment. Last week we did not lose but one game. We went 8-1 with a push because the Colts choked. Big time against the Buccaneers, but we're going to get past that. We're going to move on. No big deal. I'm not upset about it. You can't tell. First up, we got head-to-head, like we like to say here on the Green Zone. Let's kick it off. All right, first up, guys, we got the Bears and the Packers. Look, this game could go either way. Right off the rip, I'm thinking probably the Bears. Yes, in an upset, I think the Bears can beat the Packers in this one and keep that playoff hunt hope in the eyes of the hopeful? I'm not sure. I don't think that's a saying. Keep the hopes on the horizon? I'm not really sure. You're not here for sayings, though. You're here for bets. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Bears beat the Packers. Right off the rip, I'm giving you guys an upset in Lambeau. The thing that makes me feel like maybe the Packers can pull this off is, A, they're a better team, and they're at home. But I just feel like with the way the Bears defense is playing, the job that the Packers did against the Washington Redskins, who have a subpar to mediocre defense, I like the Bears in this one. Give me an upset right off the rip. Next, we got Patriots at the Bengals, guys. Do I have to even give you a prediction on this one? No, the Pats are going to win, and we're moving right along. Seahawks at Panthers. I think the Pats are going to win that one big time, by the way, as the Pats have lost 2 in a row. The last time that happened was about 5 or 6 years ago. So let's give Belichick and Tom Magnificent a little bit of elbow room as they stomp all over the Bungles. Next, we got the Seahawks at the Panthers. I kind of like the name Seahawks. I might keep that. But Seahawks at Panthers. Look, guys, the Panthers have been up and down. There's no hiding the truth of the matter is that they are awful. Cam Newton or Kyle Allen, who gives a shit? They're not very good. The Seahawks are good. They're in one of the best divisions in the league. That's the NFC West. You're welcome. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Seahawks bounce back big in this one. Give me the Seahawks in what I do believe can be a shootout of the game. The Panthers like to run the ball. This just in. Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the league. Yes, and the Seahawks have trouble stopping the run. At the same time, you got the Seahawks reeling from an embarrassing nationally televised game against the Rams. I think both teams are going to come out with a vengeance. I think the better team is the Seahawks, so they ultimately win, but watch for a high-scoring game in this one. That's how we're going to win our money later on, so keep tuned. Next, we got the Texans, the Titans, guys. I think right now the Titans may be the hardest team to play in the NFL. Maybe the one team that you don't want to run into. I can see the Titans playing the Patriots in the very first round of the AFC playoffs. We'll get into that later as we're finishing off the 2019 season. Basically, my point being is that the Titans are hot, and you do not want to run into them right now. At the same time, the Texans, they're kind of reeling, kind of spiraling downwards. So, not a good matchup for the Texans. They have had the Titans number in the past in this divisional matchup, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the Titans continue to roll. And as they like to say in Tennessee, oh, oh, oh. Yes, Niner fans, we did steal that. I don't know why. Next, we've got Dolphins at Giants, guys. Look, this is a battle of the shits. Nobody cares about this game outside of Miami and New York. I don't. I know you don't. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the Dolphins, asterisk, win this game? I don't really know. Who cares? Next, we got Eagles at Redskins, guys. Eagles are probably going to beat the Redskins because the Redskins are one of the worst teams in the NFL. However, the Eagles are embarrassingly bad as well. Barely squeaked out an overtime win against the New York Giants, who haven't been able to snuff out a fart on defense. So I'm going to say that the Eagles win this game with about as much confidence as I said the Dolphins beat the Giants. So we'll stay away from both those games when it comes to betting, but there you have a prediction. Buccaneers at Lions. Oh, by the way, guys, last week we went 9-6 on head-to-head. Even though we killed it in the betting department, we did not do that well in the head-to-head and or the fantasy advice. That's how it works, though, right? You're always going to get one, and the others are going to come to bite you. That's all right. We're going to get all 3 this week. You just stay tuned. Next, we've got the Buccaneers at the Lions. Buccaneers are rolling right now. Lions are on the downtrend. A few matchups like that this week. I like the Buccaneers in a shootout of a game as neither one of these teams play defense. The Lions are working on their third-string quarterback. I don't even think I mentioned last week that they've got a new quarterback because they've just rotated him so often there. Jeff Driscoll didn't last long. I told you guys he's not an NFL caliber quarterback. They got some David Blau guy in there. You know what? I didn't even research it because I don't care. They are not going to beat the Buccaneers right now, not with the way the Buccaneers are playing. I think Jameis Winston eats another W in Detroit in a shootout of a game. Got the Browns at the Cardinals, guys. Another game I could see going either way. I'm going to go ahead and say the Browns. But the Cardinals are one of those teams where any given week they can come out, they could put a big number on the board that you just cannot catch up to. They're also still a last place team. So let's go ahead and say that the Browns win this one. Kareem Hunt maybe gets back in the end zone one or two times. They got a little bit of a 1-2 punch going there in Cleveland with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Should be fun to watch and a matchup that two teams are have been a little disappointing this year. Next, we've got Jaguars at the Raiders, guys. I think the Raiders win this game hands down, no problem. Yes, Raider fans, you can celebrate another victory that probably means nothing in the long run because you guys aren't that good. I'm sorry. I'm just speaking truth here. Look, the Raiders have kind of flushed their season with the last couple of losses that they've had. I believe they're maybe still in the playoff hunt because the AFC still has a couple of windows open. The Jaguars are one of the worst teams in football. So, Jags, you get stopped this week by the Raiders. They're going to continue to keep the Raider hopeful. Hopeful? Sure. Vikings at Chargers, guys. I'm not really sure why the spread on this game is so close. We're only talking head-to-head pick'ems here, so obviously the Vikings. But we're going to talk on this game more as we get back to the betting advice because there's a small margin here, small spread. I'm not really sure. Maybe the Chargers have something on the Vikings that I'm not aware of, but we'll talk about that later. Rams at Cowboys in a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. NFC divisional matchup game where the Rams got the best of the Cowboys. I think revenge is exact this week. I think the Cowboys come back. I think Ezekiel Elliott has a big day, and they run all over and get that victory, an important victory for the Cowboys against the Rams if they want to stay alive in that playoff hunt against the Eagles. Falcons at 49ers, guys. Obviously, I got the 49ers. This should be an easy W for my boys. They are going to play a team who's a little unpredictable. The Falcons do have a tendency to suddenly have a defense show up out of nowhere and shut you down like they did to the Saints. But they've also had many known struggles that everybody knows about where their coach was on the chopping block. So after this one, you may see their coach back on that chopping block as the Niners are one of the best teams in football. And yes, faithful, I can see this team winning a Super Bowl, so let's keep it chugging, keep it going along. Got to stay ahead of those C hacks and keep things going along. Watch out for Julio Jones. He's tough to stop no matter how good your defense is. Niners may have some problems with him, but in the end, it's going to be a W for the Bay. Bills at Steelers, guys. I like the Steelers in this one. This is going to be a low-scoring affair. Both these teams have better defenses than their offenses, but in Duck Hodges, we trust. The terrible towels will be waving and waving proud at home. They travel well. They're even better and louder at home. I think the Steelers are just rolling right now. They've got a little bit of momentum going with their backup, Duck Hodges, and the Pittsburgh faithful are back in there and feeling like they've got something to play for as they're in the playoff hunt. So give me the Steelers in that one. Bills, as we've mentioned many times before on the Green Zone, I've told you guys, they're always going to beat the teams that aren't very good and lose to the teams that are mediocre to above average. This Steelers team is looking like they're an above average team with that defense, and if they could just get even a sconce of offense, they can beat you. Colts at Saints, guys. I think this is a potential massive blowout. Saints are going to be very upset after losing last week's game to my boys, the Niners. Couldn't stop us in 35 seconds. Incredible. George Kittle, you're the man. We're talking about the Saints here. Saints are a good team. Colts are an okay team. Give me the Saints in a wide margin of victory here. The only thing that makes me hesitant that they're just not going to blow them completely out of the water is that this is a nationally televised game. And you know how the NFL likes to keep those games close. If that's not a factor in this game, the Saints are a much better team. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, they're going to have something to prove. They're going to come out. They're going to show everybody that they're still a team to be reckoned with in the NFC. Meanwhile, the Colts are just like a mediocre, slightly above average team in the AFC, so it doesn't bode well for the Colts. All right, that moves us along to fantasy advice, guys. me go ahead and cue. Hey, guy, close off that music. Thank you, sound guy. And start that. Perfect. Got it. That guy needs a raise. Next, we've got quarterbacks for fantasy advice, guys. Last 2 weeks on fantasy advice has been a little subpar. I'll just go ahead and say it. We got 5 top 10s last week, 1 number 1. That's way less than we're used to on the Green Zone. I'm going to get you guys back on track. You're either in the playoffs or the championship at this point in your standard fantasy. If you're not playing standard fantasy, you're playing daily fantasy, and I need to get you guys into that green zone to make that green, right? So here we go. First up, Jameis Winston. Yes, Jameis Winston's going against the Detroit Lions. I know it's tough to trust Jameis, but you're going to have to in this one because the Lions' defense, pass defense, to be clear, is just too mouth-watering to pass up. You've got to take advantage of it. Give me Jameis throwing about 5 or 6 touchdown passes. They are missing Mike Evans, which is why we'll talk about Chris Godwin later. So Jameis Winston. Next, Ryan Tannehill. Yes, if I think they're one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, then I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to put up a good amount of points. The Texans have a terrible pass defense. Ryan Tannehill's playing great. Give me Ryan Tannehill. In your daily fantasy, he's going to be cheap. In your standard fantasy, he's probably not your starting quarterback. If he is, you're probably not in the championship, so don't worry about that. But in daily fantasy, you could stream him for cheap, and you can make some good money. But wow, because there are some big names later on that I'm going to have you take at the wide receiver and running back position. Excuse me while I take this Diet Pepsi break. Ah, so good. All right, moving right along here. Drew Brees or Tom Brady? Yes, I just gave you 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Take one of them. Both of them have revenge-type games. I really do believe Sean Payton and Drew Brees are going to have sort of, I don't want to call it a revenge game because they got nothing against the Colts, but they want to prove to the rest of the league. I think Peyton's going to run up the score in this one, and you know if that happens, if the Saints score a lot of points, Drew Brees is going to be getting his. Same thing goes with Tom Brady. No other team in the NFL has given up more big plays than the Cincinnati Bengals. That's who Tom Brady gets after losing 2 games in a row, which, like I mentioned earlier, the Pats do not do often. So give me one of the greatest coaches of all time in Belichick, putting it on the Bengals with Tom Brady and that struggling, almost anemic Pats offense being revitalized and coming back to life here. Don't count the champs out until they're out. You guys have done it way too many times. They use that shit as fodder. Next, we've got running backs, guys. Here's going to be a couple big names for you, so you will have to spend a little bit more in daily fantasy. Don't worry about it. It's going to be worth it. First up, we got Christian McCaffrey. Yes, Christian McCaffrey for the Carolina Panthers. Look, he's their main guy. He's their main target. The Panthers season is over. They've already fired their head coach. They're not going anywhere. They're going to feed the beast because it's really all they can do at this point. The Seahawks have shown throughout the year that they've had trouble stopping both the pass and the run. Their defense is a little mediocre. Is that the term of the week? Mediocre? I feel like I've said that about 17 times. Yeah, they're mediocre, and that's just plain and simple. So, give me Christian McCaffrey getting his against the Seahawks. Next, we've got Zeke Elliott, another big name. So this is where you're going to spend your money. You're going to save it on the quarterbacks. You're going to spend it on the running backs. I'm tired of teaching you guys how to play daily fantasy. Come on now. Next, Zeke Elliott. He's a beast. You know he's good. He's got a mouth-watering matchup against the Rams. They're going to ride him and their defense as they ride to a victory against those Rams. He will be a benefactor of many, 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 many points. Yes, he's on my team, and yes, I'm going to win. Next, we've got Chris Carson, guys. Chris Carson, yes, I know he's been struggling recently. He's had a couple of fumbles. Hey, sound guy, I just talked about giving you a raise. What the hell happened there? Oh, sorry, Jimmy, let me get a starter for you. Yeah, do that. Little technical difficulty there. I'm not really sure what's going on, but who cares? Next, we've got Chris Carson. Guys, I know he's had struggles with the fumbles lately, but he's still a beast. He's hard to stop, and the Seahawks are sticking with him. Rashad Penny will be in there, taking some totes away. That's why he's the third running back that I'm giving you. But Carson's still going to get his, and he has a plus-plus matchup as the Carolina Panthers do not stop the run. It's embarrassing. Luke Kuechly, I'm looking at you, buddy. All right, next we've got wide receivers, guys. This is another area where you can actually save a little bit of money, but still get the big name. You'll understand as I delve in here. Chris Godwin. Yes, Chris Godwin. I know he's a top receiver, but a lot of times he gets overlooked in daily fantasy. You can get him for a decent price. Without Mike Evans, going against a Lions secondary that is absolutely atrocious, this is too good to be true. You have to have Chris Godwin on your team. Like I always like to tell you guys, have one quarterback, have one receiver on the same team. Jameis Winston, Chris Godwin right there for you. Boom, boom. Take them. They're going to do great. Trust me. Next, we've got Tyreek Hill. Yes, Tyreek Hill has struggled and not been in the top 10 in the last 3 to 5 weeks. Always has the potential to be the #1 receiver in the league. He's got a good matchup this week. I think the Chiefs put it on the Broncos. I know the Broncos have had a couple of good wins. We won money off them last week, as I told you guys they would win that game. They annihilated, plus they got the 9 points. I know anyone who took my advice on that one, you felt comfortable after the first quarter, maybe even within the first 5 minutes of the first quarter. You're welcome. So give me Tyreek Hill, though, in what's going to be a letdown game for the Broncos and a plus matchup for the Chiefs. Mahomes to Hill all day. Next, we've got Kenny Golladay, guys. Kenny Golladay has been a #1 receiver all year, despite the fact that his quarterback has changed about 3 or 4 times. Talked to you about how the Lions seem to rotate their quarterbacks at will. Well, Kenny Golladay is still putting up #1 receiver numbers no matter what. So give me Kenny Golladay, and Kenny we shall trust. He's going to do his. Don't worry about who's throwing the ball. The Buccaneers' pass defense is really bad too. Told you guys it's going to be a high-scoring affair, so any receiver you take in that matchup probably is going to do well for you. Next, we've got tight ends, guys. Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee has become one of the main options for the Rams and Jared Goff. I think that the Rams are rediscovering their offense, and I think they're discovering that Tyler Higbee's a big part of it. So give me Higbee coming up big in that one for you. Darren Waller, he's the tight end for the Oakland Raiders. If you haven't heard of him, you probably should have. He's good. No matter what the Raiders do, he usually puts up his numbers. He's got a plus matchup in this one. Give me Darren Waller with lots of confidence. And then finally, guys, George Kittle. Look, anytime Kittle's out there and he's healthy, he's liable to be the #1 tight end for that week. So give me Kittle in a matchup against the Falcons, who seem to just allow the tight ends to do whatever the hell they want against them. Finally, defenses, guys. I'm going to go through these quick because not too many of you care too much about it. Baltimore has a good matchup. New England Patriots have a good matchup. Pittsburgh Steelers. Boom, boom, boom. Out of the way and done. That brings us to our betting advice. Yes, that was not a mistake when I told you that we went 8-1. We had a push. We should have gone 9-1, but those Colts couldn't hold off the pesky Buccaneers when they choked all damn day. But here we go. First look bets, guys. That means I went through and these just popped off the page for me. Bears plus 4.5. If I think the Bears can upset the Packers in Lambeau, and what, let's be honest, would be a pretty big upset, then I think the Bears plus 4.5 looks pretty juicy. I think this game can be close. Give me the Bears plus the points. Pays out better when you take the underdog, right? Next, we got the Pats minus 10.5. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, 10.5, that's a lot of points. Stop it. Stop being a sissy. You're going to swallow the points. It's going to be all right, okay? Hold your hand on this one. It's going to be fine. Belichick, Brady, Pats, champions. Enough said. Bengals suck. Haven't been good for a long time. Cowboys plus 2. Yes, the Cowboys plus 2. Look, I think they're going to win this game anyways. I think they're better than the Rams. I have been burnt by the boys before, but I think they're going to do their thing this week. Give me the boys plus 2. And then finally, to round out our first look bets, we got the Saints minus 9. I already told you guys, I think this can be embarrassing for the Colts. The Saints got what they feel is a lot to prove. 9 points isn't really even that much. The only thing that makes me hesitant on this game, and it's why it's the last bet on my first look, is that it's a nationally televised game. And you guys know how I feel about that. The refs, look for the refs to keep this one close and interesting, as the ratings need to stay high because the NFL is a business. Next, we've got second take bets. Yes, second take bets. Ooh, I'm feeling this beat right now. Vikings minus 1.5. Yes. I've told you before here on the Green Zone, we are going to stay away from, we are not going to bet for or against the Vikings. We are betting for the Vikings this week. I know, but we did it last week and we won. So let's just continue to ride this money train, right? Kirk Cousins, get it done, baby. He's got a good matchup. 1.5 points, if I'm missing something, is not enough for the Chargers. To me, the Chargers should be getting about 10, maybe 13 points. They're not even close to as talented as the Vikings. Give me the Vikings minus 1.5. The over. Yes, let's repeat that again. The over at 49 in the Seahawks-Panthers games. 49's been a good number to me, and I'm going to keep riding it. In this Seahawks-Panthers game, look, both of these teams don't play the best of defense. they do have offensive weapons and guys that can just explode. I think that happens and happens often here. 49 is not a lot to swallow. We're going to go ahead and do that. Give me the over in that one. Dolphins +3. Yes, we won last week on the Dolphins, and we're going to keep that going. Can't believe I'm saying it, but give me the Dolphins +3, and really a matchup that can go either way. Both teams, like I said, don't really look like they want to win, but Fitzmagic, yes, we trust in Fitzmagic. When it comes to pointless, meaningless games that nobody cares about and somebody's got to win them, I count on Ryan Fitzpatrick, baby. And then finally, guys, third glance games after I got done kind of, I guess I'm missing the word here, but really going out of my way to warn you guys to watch out for those third glance bets because it's more for fun than something you should take serious. We went 3-0 last week, so maybe there's something to it. But here, we got the Buccaneers -5.5. If I think that the Buccaneers are going to beat the Lions because the Lions can't play defense and the Buccaneers are rolling on offense right now, 5.5 really isn't a lot to swallow. This could be a trap game, so watch out. But give me Jameis Winston eating that W, getting -5.5, and getting it done. Another over, that exact same game. We're gonna stay there. The over's at 46. This, I guess, could be a trap, but I don't even think Vegas or the NFL can predict how bad the defenses are on both these teams. 46 points is nothing for these two. Give me the over in that one, and I feel confident about it. Steelers -1, guys. This is the last game. Last time you're going to hear my beautiful voice. Steelers -1. Yes, they are probably going to win this game. 1 point is a damn near even matchup. I just think the Steelers are the better team. So take them -1 as they are rolling right now. All right, guys, that does it for this week. I am not going to do the review. Maybe I'll post something later. Maybe I won't. I don't know. You'll just have to wait. But that's it for now. Thank you for listening, you beautiful, beautiful listeners.